Speech is what are you getting value for? It's going to be 9 to 11 minutes long. Please help me welcome Stefania.
Mark had an entire career in import and export in India. Then he got a job in the United States. They flew to the United States and he had a job in India, in America, doing import and export from the United States. He decided that he was going to start his own company. It's now been 10 years since he started that company. And he did it because he really had a distinctive cultural sense of how to operate efficiently between these two very distinctive cultures. But his profitability is only about 6%, and that's compared to the industry average of about 9%. A lot of people would immediately say, that's a marketing problem. I challenge you. I think that's a valuation issue. You see, I think that Mark is taking for granted much of what he does best. No one can pay you for the distinctive value that you have that you don't value. Entrepreneurs, in particular, need to know that value is what you allow yourself to be paid. So if you're not actually getting premium profits in the current marketplace, perhaps you should take a look at value. Value has 3 elements. Those elements are analysis, execution, and terms. Each of those elements of value are certainly incremental sources of revenue for you, but they are also stepping stones for your customers to make buying decisions. So as you think about your profitability, ask yourself if you're using all 3 of these elements of value. Let's take a look at them one at a time. Analysis. We're in an information overload world. Clearly there are lots of solutions, but which solution is right for that specific customer? In today's environment, the biggest distinction that a company has is its capacity to analyze the right answer for the specific problem. Mark was underestimating, sorely, his value in analyzing. He started out with a checklist, being a sort of an engineering kind of a guy, and would go through it in a very perfunctory kind of a way. The client prospect on the other side felt that and didn't value it much. In fact, was quite frustrated. Now, Mark needed this information to be able to judge what was the right solution. But he didn't value the process, and it didn't come across as value. In talking about it, he decided to maybe experiment by charging for the analysis he was going to do. To his utter surprise, he got access to a much higher level of decision maker. And in dialogue with such a higher decision maker, he was actually able to reveal a much bigger potential solution. Higher perceived value on the part of the customer. Now, that analysis had basic parameters, and they gave Mark the opportunity to evaluate the right solution. But what also happened out of this process was that the customer became much more confident about trading off different features because they understood what they were and what they were used for and how they might fit. And in one particular instance, Mark actually had one of his customers ask for an additional amount of analysis for an extra fee to understand a bigger project. Analysis was making it easier for the customer to make a decision. Ultimately, Mark had a revelation. People hate to be sold, but they love to buy solutions. Mark found it a lot easier to go through the analysis process, allowing the customers to get confident that they were making the right decision. And it accelerated their decision making because they realized their expense for not taking action. He was beginning to give himself more credit for that value analysis. So then we went to the next step, execution. All customers are interested in solving their pain, actually eliminating their pain. They're not interested in the mechanics. So Mark decided that he would shift how he presented his execution stage of the process. He offered a multiple stage pain elimination. The first stage was to build a consensus with the team of the customer to identify what those pain issues were. The second was to beta test the worst pain. The third step was to actually roll out all of the other pains that had been identified as part of the scope. And then the fourth stage was to add a monthly evaluation for a whole 1-year period as part of optimizing the return on investment of the customer's effort. Out of this process, Mark was able to change a transaction into a relationship. He became the customer's best friend, a trusted relationship. Perceived value that didn't exist there before. Now it was the third element of value, terms. Customers will buy big solutions so long as the terms fit their cash flow. One situation that Mark experienced was that he was having a challenge. He had a standard product he would try to sell, and the idea was he would get a payment when he got the contract. But he was getting resistance from the customers at that stage, and so his average price for this particular product was only $1,500. Not very large and therefore not very lucrative. But as he began to think about how to use terms, he experimented. And he mentioned to one of his customers that terms were available. Lo and behold, that customer came up with a request for a $12,000 project. The terms were $1,000 a month. That was manageable. Bigger project, but still very, very manageable. Now, value with terms doesn't always mean